all of you, and happy to be here today talking about my books and the topic which is even more important, I think, for corporate India to focus on. So I wrote my first book, Lady You're Not a Man, approximately 10 years ago. And I wrote it because both as a business leader and as a woman, I was very saddened by the fact that so many lovely women were entering the workforce, but within the first decade of them entering, 50% of them were leaving. Within the second decade, yet another 2/3 were leaving, so that finally when you searched to get a woman CEO, there were less than 15% women at the top. And that really bothered me because I met women who were ambitious and smart and talented and willing to go ahead and work hard, but what was happening that was making them leave? And therefore, I did a lot of talking and research and meeting a lot of these young women, many of whom had worked with me. And I realized that the issue really was that while they wanted to work, society, in a sense, was pulling them backwards. Society was saying that, either you can have a great career or you can have a great married life. This is not something that they were telling their husbands. So it was an either or that was being put in their mind. Equally, the guilt that women felt themselves when they were leaving little children. I've had so many young women come to me and say, ma'am, that I can't leave my baby at home crying. And that is why I will give up my work. And parents telling them, you need to get married, and in-laws telling them that if you get married, why do you need to work? Bhagwan ka diya hua hamare paas sab kuch hai. So on and so forth. And these were the reasons that were pulling women back, and they were leaving the workforce. So I wrote the first book, recognizing that there were many similarities between the stories of all women. All of them claim to have lazy husbands. All of them claim to have evil mother-in-laws and equally evil bosses. And I think the idea was to tell them that you can achieve success provided you know how. And thus the first book was more of a practical guide telling women how to balance home and work, how to train husbands, how to manage male subordinates, the guilt that comes with leaving a little kid at home. The book did extremely well, and it is in its 30th reprint currently, and continues to be a bestseller year on year. And I thought my work was done. And then I realized that much like KBC, women's careers also goes through various padhavs. And the first padhav I had actually spoken about, which was this first decade of a woman's life with the young children and husband's transfer and marriage, etc. The second padhav that hit women was around middle management to senior management somewhere, where they'd reached a particular level of competence. CXOs and senior vice presidents and senior people. Unfortunately, at that stage also many women were giving up, which is why even now you see around 5% women at CEO level. And that again bothered me because they crossed the first padhav. Then what was stopping them at the second stage? And then again, I talked to a lot of women and I realized that there were many things that were holding these seemingly confident women back. A lot of them were to do with the internal biases that they were suffering from, the internal minimizing issues that that were plaguing them. It was less to do with what the world was doing and more to do with what they were feeling about themselves despite reaching this level of competence as vice presidents and CXOs. And they were not making that final push to become CEO or entrepreneur, etc. And thus my second book, Lady You're the Boss, which really talks to senior women and says that get out of these self-limiting biases, get out of these imposter syndromes that you suffer from. Look within you and you can make that final push for the top. Equally, I wrote the second book for men too, because I think it's important for men to be allies in this battle, to realize that diversity is not a CSR initiative. Diversity actually helps profitability. Diversity actually helps business results. Inclusion helps drive innovation, business results, and business outcomes of organizations. And as leaders and managers, they need to understand what is required to get women to stay back in the workforce. So the first part of Lady or the Boss is talking to women, senior women, and telling them you can be the boss of your life. The second part actually talks about what it takes to be a good leader, what it takes to be a good manager. And good leadership is gender agnostic in that sense, right? So what does it take to be a good leader? And having run organizations for 32 years and run reasonably successful organizations, I can say that, focusing on implementation, not only strategy, focusing on getting the right measurement in place, the right communication in place, using some parenting tactics like tough love to manage not only children, but your executives. Understanding that whether it is a P&L you're managing or your family that you're managing, focus is required. And focus is nothing else but another word for sacrifice. So people understand focus, they don't understand that you have to let go of several things if you want to deliver that most important outcome that your business wants. And finally, no business will be successful unless you're able to build a great culture. So the book talks about what it takes to build a great culture. And my personal narrative around that is that you may have great values on your coffee mugs, you may put up everything that you want to say in your town hall, but unless you take empathetic, important values and convert them to kehna, karna, nibhana. Why does the Hindi language have kehna, karna, and nibhana? Because nibhana says that you have to nibhao the values consistently. You have to fulfill the commitment you make to your team in terms of the values you're proposing constantly and consistently, whether it's senior, whether it is junior, with everybody you have to behave in the same manner. These are some of the points that the book talks about. And finally, I think the message at the end of the book is that, as I said, diversity is not a CSR initiative. All of us need to see a more inclusive world. All of us need to be wedded to the concept that if women are 50% of the population, why are they not there in 50% of all jobs, 50% of all public spaces, 50% of all entrepreneurships? And if we are serious about building a better planet and a better world and a more inclusive world, I think men, women, organizations and the larger society has to come together to make this a success. Thank you.